We've got to start, I think, with one of the ties of the knockout round, the last 16. Belgium taking on Portugal. What a fixture this could be. So many different subplots here to talk about, James. But firstly, just what a game. What a game.
Yeah, I mean, and the draw itself, you know, I know we're going to run through all of them, which is going to be interesting. But I think we're all gearing up for England maybe to play Portugal, and also England to have that really difficult side of the draw. But it seems like it really is on the other side. When you have a look at it, when you see the route that Portugal and Belgium have got to go through, Belgium have got to be fuming after having such a comfortable group. The game itself. In terms of the glamour of it, the players involved, I'm excited by that. But I do wonder with Portugal if, going from that France game and the change in personnel there, I mean, a huge call to drop Bruno Fernandes, but it was to kind of get past that terrible defeat to Germany, to have a bit more solidity in midfield, to have three guys in the midfield there. And it did work. I thought Sanchez was absolutely fantastic for Portugal. And I think what you will see with Portugal is that they have the ultimate winner in their side, Ronaldo. And when you've got someone like Ronaldo and someone like Pepe as well, I think they've got a lot of winners in there, but Ronaldo in particular, it does rub off on all the other players there. And Portugal, despite the stars that they've got, I think they might turn this into a bit of a turgid affair, because I think they've had a real, a moment of reality against Germany. And I think they're going to be a lot more pragmatic than they were in that game. And therefore, going into this game against a Belgium side that's got so many stars, and this is the moment for Belgium, I think this is such a huge test for them, because Portugal are going to look to try and stop them and do them in transition with the likes of Jota and Ronaldo, of course. But Belgium will have to break down this Portugal team. Do you think they can do it?
Yeah, I slightly disagree with what you're saying there, to be perfectly honest with you, because when Portugal came into the competition, they had William Carvalho, Danilo Pereira playing two holding midfielders, and they've had to totally transform their central midfield area. João Moutinho's come in, Renato Sanchez, who you mentioned. They've looked so much better. Of course, Bruno Fernandes is a big question mark why he's not performing right now, but the fact is he isn't. And I'm so glad the manager has made those changes, because they've had more of the ball, they've had more control, their build-up play has been more patient in many ways. It was sort of this feeling that they could just, with those front four players, go and blast teams out of the competition. That clearly is not going to happen for them. And I don't think they're good enough to sit back and soak up pressure. That's what they tried to do at the start of the competition. And that's not going to be the way for them to fend off the best teams in the tournament. What they need to do is get out there and show their ability. And I think this team, with Renato Sanchez in the middle of the park, is definitely a lot better. But the big concern is creating pressure on the opposition. I think that's why there's a little bit more mobility in the side, in that central midfield area, but they still didn't really manage it against France. Think of that beautiful ball played in behind from Paul Pogba, and in went Karim Benzema for the goal. I mean, it was sensational, but you have to stop these players from getting their heads up, turning, and be able to play that pass, because the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, they will hurt you. Yuri Tielemans, they will hurt you. And of course, they've got great forward players to thread those balls through to.
But don't you think that, Hugh, that was about combating the kind of wide areas a bit better? That was the problem against Germany. That pass from Pogba, very few players can play that pass. And I think you're right. There are definite weaknesses with Portugal. And I think for me, it's, the fullbacks I'm a little bit concerned with, in particular on that right-hand side. I wonder if Eden Hazard will be looking to be able to kind of get at them. The likes of Semedo, who I've never been sure about, alongside Pepe, who, of course, as good as he is getting on. I think they're in that little channel there. Mbappe was able to get in there once or twice. There was a very harsh penalty given against them. But I just think this is going to be so tight, because I think the concern from Portugal will be that in transition, you've got the likes of Ronaldo and Jota who can do something for you. But ultimately, I think they're going to go back to going, how do we stop Belgium? And in terms of stopping Belgium, I think the two men in particular, it's amazing. You've got Eden Hazard there, who hasn't really stepped up yet. But the two men you've got to stop are De Bruyne and Lukaku. De Bruyne has created 8 chances per 90. He didn't even start that first game, and he's still created 13 chances so far in the tournament. I think it does come down to that, don't you think? If you can stop De Bruyne, you're most likely going to be able to stop Belgium, but it's easier said than done, right?
I think Belgium, as great as those two players are emerging, maybe more so than the other competitions that we've seen them in, as a team, a little bit like Italy at the moment, that almost every cog is working perfectly in sync with the other. they're starting to, okay, they've got the icing on the cake in the likes of Lukaku and Kevin De Bruyne, sure, but they've got such a solid platform for them now to perform. I think this is a better Belgium, a more competent Belgium than we've seen in the past. I don't think they've got the same fragility. The question marks about the defence, yes, but vastly experienced defenders back there. The wing backs have been great. Of course, the central midfield area looks really good as well. And then you've got Lukaku up front. I just don't see where the major weaknesses for Portugal to exploit. We can talk about the pace at the back. And yes, Portugal have so much pace going forward. But I truly believe Belgium will dictate the pace of the game. They will dictate all of it. And when they get to that one-touch passing, I mean, it's very, very difficult for any team to stop. I think Belgium will be very confident going into this game against Portugal. It's down now to Cristiano Ronaldo, and you mentioned, he's on the verge of breaking records. Now we need to see his real leadership skills emerge. We know he's got them. He's been captain for a long time. He isn't the player that he used to be in terms of running around the pitch and doing all these fantastic skills. But when you get him on the ball in the penalty area, he can certainly hurt teams. That's the big question mark for me, because you look at the formation that Belgium play, and you look at the comfort level of them on the ball, and you don't really see how Portugal will emerge from it as the team that's on top for most of it. I'm confident, I've got to say, James, I'm confident that Belgium will win this game quite comfortably. I say quite comfortably, 2-0, 3-1. Yeah, I just don't see how Portugal are gonna come past them.
Do you think there's anything in the fact that, being in that group of death for Portugal, that they have played these games that, this level of team that you will play in the knockout stages, whereas Belgium at the moment, with the group that they had, it was a lot more comfortable for them. Do you think there's anything in the fact that at least, the revs are going on Portugal? They've kind of had to kind of play to that level and be alert, whereas Belgium, it's been very, very comfortable. Is that something that could hurt them maybe a little bit?
It can work one of two ways. Belgium will feel confident because of the games they've already played. They've also been allowed to get their stride in terms of that formation, get into their stride in terms of that formation. They've had less to react to. So they know this is how we play, and we're very comfortable with the way that we play, and no one's yet hurt us. Now, of course, you can be shell-shocked in a competition like this. You can get a team that can hurt you, and you have no time to react, and you're out of the competition. That's the stage that we're at this point in time. But I feel like Kevin De Bruyne coming back and slotting so comfortably into that formation it was a huge boost of confidence to the Belgian side. Roberto Martinez, their manager, would have been absolutely delighted just to have Kevin De Bruyne back, because, of course, he was a doubt. And now I think the confidence levels are so high. Portugal, although they've played more difficult competitors, and I think they will be feeling, well, look, hold on a minute. We've ridden the storm out of the group. We've managed to get through. We've played, some very, very good sides. They haven't hit their stride. They haven't been this team, apart from the game, of course, the last 20 minutes against Hungary, that will feel really confident about beating any team in this competition. And that's the difference. And I think that will be a big, big factor.
Yeah, no, I totally got what you're saying. I just wonder, just knowing I think it's more my experiences with Portugal, even if they don't play well, they just have such steel about them that I could see them making this a difficult affair. It's going to be a great game. Let's get some predictions then. I think this could go to extra time, but I do think Belgium will sneak it but I think it will go further than we think. I think there might be a couple of goals in this. I'm going to go 2-2 at full time, and then I'm going to say that Belgium sneak it, one of those three guys, De Bruyne, Lukaku or Hazard, to score the winner in extra time. What do you think, Hugh?
I'm going to go 3-1 Belgium, and I can guarantee there will be a penalty because they're being dished out. I mean, like confetti at the moment. So yeah, I think I just don't see, like I say, how Portugal can get past them, because I believe the components going forward and the fact that the formation is really working well for Belgium means that it's massively in their favor.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.